Here goes another week. So good to see everyone. Uh, Today's quote comes from this guy here, Eckhart Tolle, and hopefully I can tie this into the theme of mindfulness for today. So, once you realize and accept that all structures, forms are unstable, even the seemingly solid material ones, then peace arises within you. This is because of the recognition of impermanence of all forms awakens you to the dimension of the formless within yourself, that which is beyond death. So that's a mouthful. I'll tell you how I got here. So my partner Jen and I, we were looking for a new show to watch this weekend, and we started watching like a zombie movie, and it's pretty convincing stuff. And we both found ourselves feeling incredibly stressed out, as the zombies were doing their crazy, scary stuff and chasing the protagonists and so forth. And so we actually stopped watching it. We got to this point where it's like, what are we doing? This is really stressful and actually not that enjoyable. And it struck me in that moment how interesting it was to be so consumed by taking a step back and just realizing that on the TV were just some dancing, you know, lights were and shapes were organized in such a manner that our brains interpreted all of that as something that stimulated enough like emotions and feelings and sensations in our body that it was so uncomfortable that it actually really affected our experience. It's kind of the whole point of movies, really, right? It's to absorb you to such an extent into what's playing itself out on the screen, so that we believe that what's happening there stimulates this emotional reactivity. That we consider that a good movie, and are sometimes willing to pay lots of good money for it. And in some ways, what's happening there is we are so wrapped up in it that we forget what's actually happening, which is I'm just sitting here on a couch. I'm safe. Everything's okay. And all I'm doing is I'm staring at this box that's hanging on the wall. That's has some flickering lights and some noises coming from it. And there's a matter of factness that we could approach that situation with, but instead the brain gets so absorbed in it, and we forget what's actually happening. So the point of all of that is this, the part I think that Eckhart Tolle is referring to that lies beyond that form that's presenting itself, is the very thing that we can connect with when we practice mindfulness. So the reason mindfulness is such a foundational skill to acquire is because it always puts us back in touch with the most bare bones reality, and allows us to see the mind and the brain and the body having their reactions and doing their thing. But there's this other part of us that gets to hang back and see things for what they really are, which is, oh, it's just a bunch of lights and a bunch of loud noises, or it's, oh, this person seems to be having a difficult time and is therefore raising their voice, or we have a choice in that moment to just be with what is, rather than go down the rabbit hole and believe all the stuff that's being sort of being fabricated for us. So I hope that makes sense. And I was thinking today, let's see if we can touch base or touch into that expansive, formless state that mindfulness allows us to experience. So let's start by closing our eyes, just settling into the body, sitting in a chair. Maybe start off with seeing if you can notice the narrative that is being presented by the body, senses, the brain processing, all of that. What is the story that the mind has about this moment right now? Are you even noticing things like, I'm sitting in my home, in my chair? The brain can't help but create stories and movies and narratives. what it does. So right now we're trying to see if we can peer behind the screen at the movie theater and see what's behind it. Just remembering that we're all actually sitting in a big movie theater, watching these movies as they dance around our brain. See if you can tease the two apart. It gets easier to distinguish them when we slow down and get quiet. Because then we can see more clearly that all the motion and commotion and feelings and stories, we can see them more clearly. Just noticing if you can and just gently tease apart or distinguish between the observer part of you, the part of you that's in the movie theater, watching the screen, and what's actually playing itself out on the screen. They're two very different things. Of course, in our lives, the movie that's playing on the screen, it's our memories, stories we tell about our life, about our identity and who we are in this life. So it's a sad movie or a comedy. It's the content. Just resting to the part of us that knows that we are watching a movie. And that's consciousness, awareness. And this consciousness is no beginning, it has no end. This is the timelessness that Eckhart Tolle was talking about. It just is. It's everywhere, it's nowhere, it's infinite. And everything that we experience is ultimately the result of it playing itself out on this in this movie theater that we call life or existence. There's a stillness to this consciousness. Uh, In my experience, the more familiar we become with it, it becomes a kind of home base. It's always there, it's always the same, no matter what movie's playing. So as we go through our lives, ups and downs, and laughter and sadness, fears, boredom and busyness, I think the more we can simply be mindful or aware, this is all just playing itself out, and we can observe it and be cognizant of it, the richer this whole experience becomes. So take a deep breath in through the nose, long, slow exhale, noticing the sound, the sensation of the exhale all the way to the end. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Another deep inhale through the nose, to the mouth. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Your eyes, coming back to the session. Hope this wasn't too far out there, and that metaphor makes sense. I think there's lots of the other metaphor I was thinking of, is imagine being a painter sitting in front of a canvas, and there's some people that are able to arrange the paint in such a way that it creates the illusion of depth or of emotions, or right. That's when we're looking at a really beautiful painting. It really stimulates something. But if you take a step back and remember, it's just paint on a flat surface. Anyway, that's the part that I was hoping to stimulate, or just the awareness of that. So hope that worked. Take care, everyone. Hope to see you tomorrow.